If you have a lot of books in your house, people usually assume one of two things. A, you're a speed reader, or B, you spend all your time reading. And they'll usually ask you this outright, like you're some kind of weirdo. Inquiring minds may have thought I was a bit strange before, but if they really knew, well, it doesn't matter because that ends now. I have a problem. I am a binge reader. When I was a kid, I did kid things. I played outside, rode my bike, hung around with the neighborhood kids. I was always doing something, but there was something else I liked to do that a lot of my friends just weren't interested in. I love nothing more than curling up and getting myself lost within a good book. And if it were a series, then even better. When you're young, kids can be mean, and when I was a child, being smart wasn't cool or acceptable the way it is now. My parents always read stories to me before bed, and my vocabulary was pretty astounding at a young age. I was a good student with good grades, and I excelled in English throughout most of my entire school career. I was the kid who didn't mind grabbing a book for recess and finding a quiet spot on the playground to lose myself in. Or when the teacher assigned the class a book report, I'm pretty sure I was the only one not groaning in agony. I would never listen when we were supposed to only read chapters 1 to 3 for homework, and I always came back the next day with the entire book already finished. I just couldn't get enough. I mean, really, how did my grade 12 English teacher expect to put classics in my hand like A Catcher in the Rye and think that such a controversial novel would not pull me in? With relatable themes of teenage angst and alienation, I just couldn't help myself, and a search of me wanting to know more about my beloved Holden Caulfield and his extremely noticeable peculiarities led me to wanting to know more about the influence of the book. See, something happens to me as I open a brand new copy of a book. Opening that cover is like opening a door to a whole other world, one that I feel comfortable in, and the descriptive nature of the people and the places within this newfound comfortable place makes me feel as though I've been there and I know these people myself. It's as if I'm a part of this story too. There is a reason certain books become bestsellers or go on to become billion-dollar movies that have a cult following full of others just like me. I know I'm not the only person out there who has picked up the latest Harry Potter novel and just hit the off button to reality for the next 14 hours, as I carefully absorb each word on all 652 pages of this magical phenomenon. I often go days or weeks without so much as picking up a book, or I'll half-heartedly tell myself I'm reading a few off and on, and then I'll lose control. I'll read 7 books in 5 days, or I'll read for hours and hours in a row. I'll blow off going out to finish reading a book that's hooked me. I'll even read book after book in a series. In that moment, I'll even read The Hunger Games if it's the only thing within reach. But it's books like The Giver that have me full of jealousy of Lois Lowry's creativity to imagine such vivid characters and storylines, that have me wishing I could experience Jonas's eradicated emotional death from the society around him, to be able to feel what he felt after experiencing sameness for so long, only to be chosen as a receiver of memory and be gifted with color and joy in such a utopian society. But all good things come to an end, and as I become more and more attached to these characters and places, the excitement of turning each page to reveal another adventure becomes replaced with sadness and anxiety, feelings of hopelessness and wondering what happens next. Do the children from Flowers in the Attic survive after escaping the attic they've been imprisoned in by their mother for 3 life-changing years? Luckily, there are 4 more books to the series, but at the tender age of 12, when I first came across captivating authors like B.C. Andrews, that meant saving up my allowance to be able to purchase the next book. But even after I've completed any series, I'm still left with that empty, hopeless feeling. Sure, Harry and Ginny live happily ever after and see their son off to Hogwarts, but after years of adventures, how can J.K. Rowling torture us diehard fans? How are we supposed to just accept that this is the end? Unfortunately, this is a feeling I have come to know and hate throughout many years and many books. I have tendencies to binge read in what some will call an unhealthy manner, such as only leave my room to use the bathroom or grab some food quickly. Sometimes I'll even stay up to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning reading, even though I'm fully aware that I have to be up at 7 a.m. It's always one more page, one more chapter. I have to know what happens next. And just like when I did read A Catcher in the Rye, my fascination with the books and characters turns into an incessant need to know more, to see what others feel about the character development. Is there going to be another book after this? Is there another series I should check out? What is the inspiration behind this book? These books become like drugs to me, like my own personal brand of heroin. It's a sickness, and the only cure is more pages. This type of addiction is not a bad thing. Just as Netflix made binge viewing of television popular, book publishers are now looking to feed readers' cravings for sequels by releasing follow-up installments more quickly than ever. It's a concept that I refer to as binge reading, and it was only possible if a library had multiple series on its shelves already. Sometimes a great book simply overtakes you, even if it's far from a guilty pleasure. When I read Columbine, which was about the 1999 school shootings in Littleton, Colorado, I stayed up several nights reading until I couldn't keep my eyes open, and then suffered terrible dreams when I did nod off. But the author's work was so great and so terrifying, it literally kept me up at night. Certain stories allow us to be grateful that we never had to experience certain things, but however remind us of how far we've come as a civilization, like the Diary of Anne Frank and the horror she endured during the Holocaust, or when we take a look into the sadistic mind of Hitler and Mein Kampf. These works of art take our minds to places we didn't even know they could go to, all just by turning a page. And it's not just the exercise for your brain that is so captivating, it's where your imagination can take you. Being a young woman in my 20s, of course I divulged in 50 Shades of Grey, which gave me the freedom to experience the anxiety and nervousness Anastasia felt when she first meets Christian. Mr. Grey will see you now, the secretary calls, as Anna tries to keep it together while walking in to interview Seattle's most mysterious bachelor. It's stories like this, whether they be adventurous or mysterious, or go beyond your comfort zone, are crucial parts of everyday life. The pervasive hunger for innovation and creation is something that just cannot be competed with the way e-readers are trying to. No piece of technology will ever replace the feel of a classic with its crisp, freshly printed pages. They give us hope for the future and think maybe something like this can happen to me one day. If you take away one thing from this, I hope that it's this. A book is a gift you can open again and again. It will transform you, and reading gives us someplace to go when we have to stay where we are. It's an obsession, an occupation, a disease, and an addiction. It is not a hobby. Sometimes we need to escape the world, and sometimes we need desperately to engage with it. The magic of the books is that we can do both.